Hello, you beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode of the Soulful Self-Development Podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Sutherland, and I want to share with you guys today a story that happened to me just the other day, and just what that all represents and means for me, and just some things that I have been going through lately. So, to start off, the last few days, I was overly emotional, to say the least. And I'm very aware and in tune with emotions, but not all the time am I overly emotional. However, I did just have my period, so that tends to make me a little more emotional than usual, as to be expected. But I wasn't feeling anger or anything, just kind of sadness and a little bit of feeling lonely, or just like, I don't know. In my journey, it can be really hard because walking this path, and there's a lot of times where it can feel lonely because, I feel blessed that I have my sister Grace, because her and I are really, really on the same path when it comes to this stuff. So I always have her to talk to. But sometimes it can still feel lonely, and I've just been becoming so aware of so many different things, and I've been starting to be somewhat triggered because I can see all this that's happening, and I'm not the kind of person that needs the research. I'm not the kind of person that needs the peer-reviewed study to tell me that something is or isn't true. I am very, very intuitive, and I have such a gift in seeing patterns and seeing answers. As I ask a question, the answer usually presents itself to me very quickly without me even having to do the research. So I just have becoming aware. The one thing that I have been becoming really, really aware of that has been causing me to feel very upset, because it's something that I have little to no control over, but really bothers me, and I would really like to do something to help, has to do with food. Which is funny because my mom just called me this morning and was talking about this. I don't know if you guys have heard about this. Rubber fruits. There are fruits out there that are being sold to us in the stores like normal food, and they are almost nearly rubber. You can't break them. You couldn't eat them. There's a watermelon, and you could bend it in half and it still wouldn't break. And this is becoming more and more common. People are finding this food. I'm going to buy this watermelon and eat it, and then they can't even eat it. Not to mention that the watermelon is like $7.99 for a watermelon, and then you can't even eat it. But this is just for all foods, and I've talked about this a few times. Just this app that I have, and I absolutely love this app because I'm trying to be cautious and aware of what it is that I choose to put in my body. And, I don't not allow myself to have treats sometimes, but just being aware of what's in it and how it makes me feel, and knowing like, oh, if I eat that, I'm probably not going to feel so great. So this food awareness, but then I want to be able to drink water that's filtered, and you can't use a Brita filter, and all these things that you need to be healthy, and to eat organic, so that you're not needing these pesticides that are on everything that cause all these issues. And then all these foods in the store, anything in a package, like almost everything in a package, is just so not good for us. But as humans, we just really want to go to the convenience, I need crackers. I'm not going to make my own crackers from scratch. That seems ridiculous. I'm obviously going to buy these crackers that are in a box. But they put so much stuff in our food that is so bad for us. And, there's a lot of chemicals and things that are not banned that literally cause cancer, and they know it causes cancer, and yet they continue to put it in our food, and they're just like, here you go, have this. And this is just not even common knowledge. It is not something that people know about, and it causes so many issues. It's a really big reason why there's so much issues with people being overweight and obese in our world, in the third world countries, where they're mass processing this food and they're putting all this stuff in our food, and then they tell you that it's just calories in versus calories out, which is technically the equation of losing weight. However, they don't take into consideration all the hormones that they feed you in your food that mess up your metabolism, which then changes the equation. And there's all these different things, and you can have different disorders in the body that mess up that equation and all these things. So sometimes it's more than that. Sometimes it is literally a big, complicated, there is no simple equation. But people choose to have the convenience over the health, and it's creating this ripple effect. And the worst part is that we have no control over it. It's hard to even access a lot of food where I live anyway that is organic and has all these options of healthy and no preservatives and things like that. At least not if you're willing to spend a lot of money on this food, which is something I would love to be able to do for myself. I'm just not necessarily at that point in my life yet. And I'm a young single person trying to take care of myself in this economy that is kind of crazy. So I can't necessarily afford to eat everything organic. And if I can afford things, then I will try my best to do that. But so many people are struggling with how much money everything's costing, and the inflation is insane. Also, something that I can see this issue, this huge issue, and I have no control over being able to help, because it doesn't have to be this way, and they're doing it on purpose. It's not a coincidence. It is how they are trying to take power over us. And one more thing about the food before I move on to the next is that these foods, the reason that these foods that we're eating, they're causing illness and disease in our bodies, but they have little effects every single day on us that we just see as normal and we just deal with, or we just think that's how it is, but it's not. And it's really a control thing of all these foods aren't really nourishing our bodies, and it's creating us to have brain fog, and it makes us very tired, and we have no energy, and we don't have the energy to think for ourselves, and we don't have the energy to work for ourselves. Like, we just have most of us have these jobs where we get up and we go to work, and then we come home from work, and then we're just like exhausted and we don't want to do anything else. We want to lay on the couch and watch TV or whatever it is that you like to do, and which is also a big part of it. So, these foods are making us feel like shit. And they really are. It's like these foods are just so not good. Like, you eat something and your belly hurts and then you don't want to do anything, or you're trying to have these creative ideas and you're trying to use your brain and you're just not getting ideas. There's just such a fog. That is not normal. That is not supposed to happen. And the fact that that's just how it is kind of absolutely baffles my brain. And I think we need to do everything we can to take a stand against this. Like, we should have access to food that we can eat and not have to think about if we're willing to feel like shit for the rest of the day, or if we're willing to put these chemicals in our bodies that are so bad for our bodies that cause all these issues that then leads to disease. And so on and so forth. So this has been really triggering for me because I've just becoming so aware and so enlightened to this information, and I can't unsee it, and I see it everywhere. And it's hard to just not be upset about it because I just want to eat good food. I just want to be able to have things that make my body feel better. I want to fill my body with things that nourish me. And, if I try to do that, I'm spending hundreds of dollars at the grocery store. And I'm one person. One person. I just don't understand how it's not okay. It's literally not okay. And I don't know what to do. I want to do something so badly, but I don't know what to do. And I've also been feeling triggered because I just I have felt this very strongly for a few years now. I think COVID was really the start of this. Feeling as if there is going to be some big change. And like there is big change happening. Just time works differently on this planet than I think my soul is a little used to, because I feel change and I think it's going to be instant, snap of the fingers, it's different. However, in my reality, that happens for me sometimes if I make changes within my life. But as the collective, the change for the entire collective, that's a little unrealistic that that's going to happen, solely because there are almost 8 billion people on the planet, and everyone's in their own reality, and some people are so completely brainwashed that they just have no clue that things like this, like the food thing that's going on around us, that our governments are doing this on purpose. It's not a coincidence. Just letting you know, there's no such thing as a coincidence. These things are fully planned out, and in order to have control over us. And another big part of this is screens. They're pushing more and more and more and more screens. Everything is screen. All these movies and TV shows and things, video games, all these things that take so much time out of our lives. And just in result, we get so distracted from what's really going on, from what's important. And they're just putting all this information in our brains that's not necessarily true and is made to distract us. And it's just so normal. And, so I try to eliminate TV from my life. I spend enough time on screens for my work. I don't love that that's a big part of my job, because trust me, if I could do my job with no screens, I would. But I have a podcast and I have a website and I create digital products, so a little ironic. However, I'm trying to raise awareness of these things and encourage people to spend less time in the digital world, because we have power when we are connected to nature, and we become more in tune with everything when we are surrounding ourselves with nature. And it's just a lost part of life, especially where I'm from. And I live in a place where it's cold for half the year, so it's hard to spend time outside when it's minus 40. So I've really been feeling like there is change, needs to be change, and it's coming. It is. Again, we are living through the Great Awakening, and it's going to take time, and I have to remind myself that it takes patience. And honestly, I am a person that has a lot of patience. I teach little children for a living, so definitely requires a lot of patience. But I had this experience. So it was also my grandma's birthday. She would have been 90, and she is and always will be so special to me. And she passed away almost 6 years ago, and she has been a big part of my spirituality journey because when I was doing my mediumship course, I had this experience that just, I always said when my grandma passed away that I would do anything to be able to give her another hug because she just was so special. We had a very special bond, her and I just feel so blessed that she was my grandma for as long as she was. And I mean, she'll always be my grandma, but that I had her as long as I did and that she was just truly so amazing. And so when I did this course, we were learning how to communicate with people that have crossover, and we had this experience where we did this meditation, and then you visualize yourself being in your happy place, and then you learn how to travel to this place. And when you're in this place, it's where essentially you go that like spirits can come to you that are that are trying to communicate with you. And you like imagine that there's this house and that you go in the house and you sit in this room, and this is like, my house is a big blue house, and when I go through the door to the left is this little living room, and I have these like couches and stuff in there, and then there's this big window that I look out into the front yard of the house. And my grandma was there waiting for me, and I laid on her lap and she gave me back scratchies like she used to always do when I was a kid. And I got to give her a hug, and I just felt completely like immersed in her energy. Like I felt her energy wrap itself around me as if she was fully giving me a hug. And I'm bawling my eyes out because this is just, I would have paid millions of dollars for this experience. And I learned how to do it for myself, that I can have these experiences often if I need to connect with her. And so that was just like so powerful for me. And then we did this assignment where everybody posted a photo and people got to read the energy of the photo, and it could be of somebody dead or alive. And of course I posted my grandma because she's just so special. And what the girl in my class that read her energy through the photo was so spot on. Like you would have thought she knew my grandma, because it was word for word to a T my grandma. And I was just like, wow, this stuff is so magical. Like it's crazy. Like, how did she know that from looking at a photo of my grandma? She just knew all this about her and her life and things that have happened to her, and all these details that just give you goosebumps from head to toe. So I knew she was a big part of my journey because she was a big part of me. Not that I didn't believe in this stuff before, but just like totally affirming to me that was so real, and that this was my path and this was my gifts. Fast forward a little bit, I went to a reading. This was in the fall last year. And I had this reading. I had just done ayahuasca, and I had a very mental experience, not a lot of visuals. And I had a most beautiful experience. However, it was all in my mind. My strongest intuition sense is clear cognizance, which is just clear knowing or clear understanding. And so I had all these realizations and understandings, but I had no visuals to go along with it. And it was the most beautiful experience. And then I walked away, and of course my ego comes out and is like, was that even real? Did you make that up in your head? All these things. So I went for a reading from somebody else solely because I really wanted to confirm that what I experienced was real, because it can be hard when you do these spiritual experiences and it's not in the physical, tangible world. It can be very easy for your ego to convince you that that wasn't real, that that was fake, that you just made that up in your own head. Same thing happened when I was learning to do my mediumship as well. Anyway, I had this reading, and she said, you suffered a great loss in your life. And I was like, yeah, my grandma. That was a tough one. And then she said, you haven't fully grieved her. And I'm like, yeah, it's been like 5 years. Of course I have. But I hadn't, because anytime she would talk about her, I would be bawling my eyes out because it just brought a lot of sadness because I miss her. And she told me when I heal from this and like actually grieve her properly, then I gain her powers, because she was a very powerful lady. She was magical, to say the least. And so I was like, okay, so she is a really big part of my journey and my gifts that just keep on coming the more I learn and grow. And so her birthday was a few days ago, and I do okay on her birthday, like, but I was on my period and I was emotional, and I'll always miss her. I honestly cry because I just love her so much, and I will just always think back to our relationship and all the memories I have with her, and just try to relive her memory as much as I can. And so I was having a sad day, and my mom had texted me that there was going to be a meteor shower. And so I packed myself up and I went on a little adventure and to go watch this meteor shower. I thought it would be nice. I have this little spot that I like to go to, which actually isn't that far away from my mom's house because my mom lives on an acreage. And so I go to this place, and I brought some cards, and I brought sage and Florida water and some blankets and a pillow just to lay in the grass and watch the stars. And so I get there and I'm setting up my stuff, and I look up and the sky looks like pinky red, and I'm just wondering if I'm hallucinating. And I'm staring at this pinky red thing in the sky, and it starts dancing. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the Northern Lights. Because usually the Northern Lights are green. And when I turned around, there was green ones behind me. But when I was looking forward at where I was sitting, they were all red. And I was seeing shooting stars everywhere in this meteor shower, and these Northern Lights just got brighter and brighter and brighter, and they were bright red, bright green, and they were dancing around all over top of me, all over the whole entire sky. Like every direction I looked was covered in Northern Lights, and I wasn't even expecting that. I've actually only seen them. I live in the north, but I've only experienced the Northern Lights a few times in my life, and I've never seen red ones. They're usually green. I've never seen red. I got the craziest pictures. It was so amazing. And then I pull these cards, and they're just reminding me of how protected I am and supported, because I may have been doubting myself a little bit, which is natural. It happens. But every time I ask for a sign or an answer, it always presents itself to me. This was my grandma, and literally in the morning I had posted a few pictures of her on my story because I'd always love to share her memory with everyone. She was a very well-loved lady. There's a lot of people out there that love her so much, and so I posted this picture of me and my grandma, and I said, like, happy birthday, love you so much, and I hope you're up there dancing in the sky. And then comes the end of the night, and I'm watching these Northern Lights dance, and I'm just like bawling my eyes out. I had been crying for like 3 hours at this point. And I'm bawling my eyes out, and just like, how beautiful. Thank you for this sign, universe, of, that all these things I have been feeling are so true, and that I am supported and I'm on the right path, and even if things don't go exactly as I think they're gonna go, it's still gonna go. It just sometimes takes more time than I imagine. And anyway, so I go, I'm watching these lights, I pull these cards, I'm sitting there, and then literally from every direction, around me. Not close by, but from far away. It sounded very far away. This howling started. It was like behind me, howl, and then in front of me, and then to the sides, and then like all the way around me. This howling was going on and on and on and on. And I was like, oh my, okay. I was by myself in the forest, so I was being aware and safe. So I did end up packing up my things and just sitting in my car watching them because I didn't want to get attacked by a coyote. But it felt very significant to me because I've heard coyotes howl, but like that was ridiculous, and they weren't stopping, and they were from every direction, and it was kind of crazy. And I was like, oh my god, okay. So me being me, looked up the significance of the Northern Lights. For one, represents in Native American cultures, it is believed that it is your ancestors dancing in the sky. So that was really beautiful because I literally said, I hope you're dancing up there, Nanny. And she was, in bright, beautiful colors, and it was very special. And then I searched up the significance of howling. So when I searched up what the howling meant spiritually, what my sign was that I was receiving, it is a sign for reaching out for divine support and assistance, which I literally was. I had this moment where I just was laying in the grass crying, and I was like, I need help because I don't know what to do, because I feel so stuck, and I feel like I want to make such a difference, but sometimes I just feel so alone, or like my words are falling on deaf ears. And I know I have listeners and supporters, and I know my audience is only going to continue to grow as I walk this journey, but it can be frustrating when I feel like I have all this stuff to say and I feel as if no one's listening to me. And so then I had this most magical experience, and I just reminded myself, Hannah, people are listening to you, and more people are coming to listen. And I just feel so grateful. And it was a very beautiful, magical experience, and I just did need a little reassurance, and I was given my reassurance. So, anytime I question my beliefs, which it's never that I don't believe, I think it's healthy to question beliefs just so that, you can be growing and adapting and changing as you grow and adapt and change. And, every time I'm like, is it even worth it? Should I even be doing this work? Like, it can be draining and it can be lonely, and there are so many infinite, beautiful, amazing parts of it, but for every good there is bad. So there are going to be tough parts of every job as well. So that's what entails when you walk this spiritual path sometimes. And I'm hoping the more people that are awakening to these truths, there's going to be a lot more community surrounding spirituality, and just that we're also connected and everything. So anyway, that's my story, and that was an experience I had this last week, and I just thought I would share it with you guys. If you guys have been having these feelings, just know that you're not alone. Creating a lot of awareness around things is so magical, and I feel very freed in so many ways of not letting these things have control over me and controlling my life. But then in another way, I feel so trapped because a lot of it, there's not necessarily something I can do other than make decisions for myself not to partake in those things as much as I can, and share my voice with you guys so that I can maybe make a little bit of a ripple effect and hope that more people start to question, and maybe together we can stand up, because there is power in numbers, and that's the only way we're going to make a big change. However, I don't really know how to just start gathering a lot of people and storm the parliament. I don't think that will work if it's just me so far. So if we want to make some serious changes, I don't know, I guess we just need to keep spreading the word and hope that these messages reach the right people. And if you ever feel like you need guidance or support, I am always here to help. That is literally my calling, and makes me feel so fulfilled when I get to help others. I wrote a book all about energies, different energies that are in the universe and what they all mean and how we can use them in our lives, because that was a really big start of my spiritual journey, starting to see and understand these energies. So it is available on my website, soulfulselfdevelopment.ca, and it's only $11.11, so not much of an investment, but there is so much information in this book. I highly, highly, highly recommend. I put a lot of love into it, so I hope that you guys enjoy it. Go check it out. I will put the link in the show notes, and have yourselves the most beautiful, magical, wonderful rest of your day. And I love you all so much. See you next time. Bye.